In this lesson, we are going to learn about LLM API pricing. When we use an LLM API, the cost is usually based on how much we use the AI model. On the left, we have our application running on the developer's computer. The application sends an API request to the AI service through an API connection. Inside that request, we send information to the model. This information is broken into small units called tokens. These are known as input tokens. The AI model receives these tokens, processes the request, and generates a response. That response also contains tokens, which we call output tokens. Both input and output tokens can contribute to the overall API cost. So, in simple terms, the more tokens our application processes, the more the API may cost. Throughout this lesson, we'll learn how LLM API pricing works, how input and output tokens affect the price, and how we can control and reduce the cost of our AI applications. Why do LLM APIs cost money? Every time your application sends a request to an AI model, the request needs to be processed using powerful computing resources. The AI provider uses specialized hardware, such as GPUs and servers, to run the model. It also requires memory and storage to handle large amounts of data. Networking systems are needed to move information between different parts of the infrastructure. And these data centers require cooling and electricity to operate continuously. So the process is simple. Your application sends an API request. Computing resources process that request. And then, the AI model sends a response back to your application. Every request consumes some of these resources. And this is one of the main reasons why using an LLM API costs money. Many LLM APIs use a pay-as-you-go pricing model. This simply means you pay based on how much you use the API. For example, imagine you have a small application. It sends only a small number of API requests and processes a relatively small number of tokens. Because the usage is low, the overall cost is also lower. Now imagine a large application with many users. It may process millions of tokens every day. As the API usage increases, the total cost can also increase. So the main idea behind pay-as-you-go pricing is simple. You pay for what you use. This allows developers to start with a small application and gradually scale their API usage as the application grows. LLM API pricing is closely connected to tokens. A token is a small unit of text that an AI model processes. For example, consider the sentence, "I love AI." Before the AI processes this sentence, the text is broken into smaller pieces, called tokens. These tokens are then sent to the LLM through the API. The model processes those tokens and generates a response. The response itself also contains tokens. So, as the number of tokens increases, the amount of API usage also increases. And this can lead to a higher cost. So remember this simple relationship: more tokens, more usage, and potentially higher cost. The exact way text is divided into tokens depends on the model and its tokenizer. Now, let's understand the difference between input tokens and output tokens. Input tokens are the tokens that your application sends to the AI model. These can include your prompt, system instructions, conversation history, and even content from documents. All of this information becomes part of the input sent to the LLM. The model then processes those input tokens and generates a response. The tokens created by the model are called output tokens. So the difference is simple. Input tokens go into the model, and output tokens come out of the model. When calculating LLM API costs, both input and output tokens may contribute to the total price.
Now, here's an important concept about LLM API pricing. Input tokens and output tokens may have different prices. For example, in this fictional pricing example, the input tokens cost $2 per 1 million tokens, while the output tokens cost $8 per 1 million tokens. So output tokens are more expensive in this example. This means we should not simply combine all tokens and multiply them by one price. Instead, we calculate the input cost separately and then calculate the output cost separately. Finally, we add these two amounts together. So the basic formula is total cost equals input cost plus output cost. Remember, the prices shown here are only examples. Actual prices depend on the provider and the AI model you choose. Now let's look at a simple API cost calculation. For this example, we're using fictional prices just to understand how the calculation works. First, we have 100,000 input tokens. The input price is $2 per 1 million tokens, so the input cost is 20 cents. Next, we have 50,000 output tokens. The output price is $8 per 1 million tokens. This gives us an output cost of 40 cents. Now we simply add the two costs together. 20 cents plus 40 cents equals 60 cents. So the total API cost in this example is 60 cents. Remember, these prices are only for learning purposes. Actual pricing depends on the AI provider and the model you are using. Different AI models can have different prices. A smaller and faster model usually requires fewer computing resources, so it may have a lower cost. This type of model can be a good choice for simple tasks, such as sentiment classification. For tasks that need more capability, we might choose a standard model with a medium cost. For example, it may be suitable for tasks such as summarization. And for more difficult tasks, such as complex reasoning or coding, we may need a more advanced model. Advanced models can provide better performance for challenging tasks, but they may also have a higher cost. So we don't always need to use the most powerful model. The important idea is, choose the right model for the task. Use a lower-cost model when it can reliably do the job, and use a more advanced model when the task actually requires it.